Welcome to Rhythm and Roads podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Jacob. We have a very special guest. We have Asdhin Avila. He's a photographer and the guitarist for As the City Sleeps. Welcome, sir, to Rhythm and Roads podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh, for having me.
I was actually looking at your profile, and also you're very fond of tacos.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I did a taco channel for a while. Right now it's kind of on hold, but yeah, I'm fond of tacos as well.
yeah. I was like, that's so cool, man. You were like, is trying to every taco around the world.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the goal, right?
Yeah, that was the goal. Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
started in Austin. The channel started in Austin, and then I had the opportunity to travel. And so I did a few international episodes, like
Oh,
in
that's cool.
Korea and Dubai.
Wow, no
And
way.
yeah, and then I did a road trip around the US where I, you know, visited all 48 states, like contiguous states. So I
Wow.
was going to do, I did a few episodes there, but I focused more in the trip, like focus more like while traveling, enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
Uh, and because I was working as well, it was tough to just like film and edit. I had to pick, what to
Yeah.
do. But yeah, yeah, tacos
Wait,
is
so
also a passion.
you went like 48 states all around to try to
Yeah.
talk.
Well, the purpose of the trip wasn't just trying tacos, but
Oh, okay.
uh, I just wanted to do the road trip.
Oh, you just
But I did try to taco on I think on every state. I might have missed like three or four. I can't remember.
that's so cool. Well,
Mhm.
before we get more into that and the rest of what you love doing,
Yeah,
we want to get to know you. So are you from El Paso?
yeah. Well, I was born in El Paso. I grew up in Juarez.
Oh, okay.
My parents are from. My dad is from Juarez. My mom is from Chihuahua.
Oh, okay.
They made here in Juarez. I was born, like I said, in El Paso, but grew up in Juarez. I went to school until high school here in Juarez, and then I did college at UTEP.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you study?
I started with computer science, then I went to
Wow.
electrical engineer, and then I changed to music education.
Oh, you did?
Uh,
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
Unfortunately, I didn't finish. I wanted to do music therapy,
Okay.
so I moved to San Antonio for that
Oh, I love.
because that was it was a private school that had it, and I was trying to get in, but it was too expensive. And then life happened, and I was not able to finish that. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go back and finish that.
All right. Actually, I've been to San Antonio. I love it. It's just the history there, even the live music. It's just so awesome. But that's really interesting that you went from computer science to music education. And I mean, you are part of a band, so I could see that working out really well. Why you went that route?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, man. And so, okay, so now I want to get to the fact of what started first. Was it photography or music, as in joining the band with As the City Sleeps, or was it all like all together?
It was music. So I always liked music. I think when I was a little kid, I have vague memories, and I think I had to talk to my parents. I think I had like a Muppets drum set,
Oh, you did?
like a toy, yeah. And then there was a guitar. I remember having a guitar around there, but as I grew older, I always liked music. I like Michael Jackson when I was a little kid. I had like the jacket and
Oh, you
the
did? The red
socks,
one?
yeah, and
That's
the socks, and I really enjoyed his music. Obviously, I didn't know what he was going to become later, but
uh,
uh, during that time, the 80s, I was influenced by him, and then Menudo, that it was a big thing as well here in Latin America. So yeah, like I grew up with that kind of like influence with the 80s. As I grew up older, I think I was getting to seventh grade. I asked my parents for like a keyboard. So that was my first instrument that I was drawn to. So I
oh,
had a like a Yamaha piano, like a keyboard, and I started like teaching myself pretty much.
oh, self-taught, right?
Yeah. From
That's
there, uh, here in Juarez, like the secundaria, that is like junior high, right? It starts in seventh grade. You get one class that is kind of like a technical class. So it's
okay.
usually uh, it was typing, like drawing. It could be like electrical, like there were several like that, and one was music.
Oh.
I got assigned to typing, but I really wanted music. So I did the first semester on typing, but I couldn't handle it. I was like, no,
Oh.
I begged my parents to change me to
Oh.
music. They talked to the teacher and they allowed me to go in, but I wanted to go in as a keyboard player.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and they're like, well, unfortunately, we already have like four keyboard players on a group. We need guitarists.
Oh.
If you want to join the class, you have to switch to guitar.
Mm.
And that's when I did the switch actually to guitar when I was 12 years old. And I they just bought me an acoustic guitar and I started like learning from like, they were not really serious music lessons, not a lot of theory or stuff like that. It was more like, this is this chord, this is the music, the song, it has these three or four chords, learn them, and then that's it. Um, so from there, when I started like getting more into guitar,
Mm.
that's when I started like listening more into rock music as well. Like my dad was a big influence on that because he grew up in the 70s. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
like, oh, here's Led Zeppelin,
Mm.
here's Black Sabbath,
Yeah.
here's like Carlos Santana, here's like Kansas. So he's like, can you play these songs? I was like, no, they're kind of hard,
But I
but
will
I
try.
tried. Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, definitely. And that's how I started. So I started since then, and then I stay with the guitar. My first band was when I was in high school, doing like a cover
Oh.
band. Eventually, we did some original ones. I did another band as a bassist as well that I joined later after that. And then, like I said, when I moved to San Antonio, kind of like life happens, I was focused more on work and other stuff.
Mm.
I was still playing, I was still recording stuff just at home with my home studio and stuff like that. But eventually the opportunity came to join as the City Sleeps.
Mm.
And I did join as a bassist. Um,
Oh, you did that first. Oh,
at the beginning.
okay.
Yeah. And actually the first invitation was for me to join as a key player, like a keys, and
Oh,
just for one gig because I was in Austin,
oh, okay.
and Alan was gonna have a few shows there. And he's like, hey, do you think you can play these parts on keys? I was like, I can try. But ended up being that weekend, it was, I think it was Memorial Day weekend. So I already had plans to be out of town. So I
Mm.
couldn't join. And eventually I went to one of their shows before I left town, and they didn't have a bassist. And they told me, like, yeah, we have a show coming at the Whiskey a Go Go
Mm.
in a couple months, and we still need a bassist. He's like, do you want to join? I was like, sure, why not? At the
Cool.
moment, I was like, I'll do it. And the funny thing is, the guitarist lived in Austin as well.
Mm.
So the drummer at the time, that is Jimmy, and Alan lived here in El Paso, and then uh, Alex and myself lived in Austin. So I was practicing with him. And
Oh,
actually my first gig with all of them was at the Whiskey a Go Go. Like I didn't
oh,
rehearse with them
nice.
at all.
That-
Like we
wow.
just played there. So
Yeah.
it was a fun experience. And then
Yeah.
I stayed there for a while for a bassist. COVID happened. Like I said, when I did that, I did the trip, the road trip back. I kind of took a break from at the City Sleep. So Alan got a bassist, and then he had also a new lead guitarist. But then after I finished my trip, I ended up here in El Paso again,
Mm.
and the guitarist was not able to continue with that. The City Sleeps, and Alan asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to join back and be the guitar player?" And I was like, "Sure." And that's how I switched with Alan and at the City Sleeps.
Wow. Interesting story. And so from that point of view, went out of town, was it to do the 48 states or was it like a different, just a simple vacation or?
Yeah. So, like I said, when I was here in El Paso, I actually lived in El Paso for a few months before moving to San Antonio.
Oh,
And
right.
then I lived in San Antonio for 2.5 years, went to Phoenix because I wanted to do uh, sound engineering.
Oh, man.
Uh, and I was applying, I got accepted to school, but that's when the economy like dropped. It was 2008. And so I was struggling with work and then trying to get a loan to go to school, spend like $25,000
Wow.
and for something that I didn't know was gonna give me anything. I was like, no. So I decided to go back to Texas and I went to Austin. So I was there
Oh,
for 13 years.
oh, in Austin? Wow.
Yes.
I like that.
And so when I was working at a corporate job. And with COVID, we started working from home. And we didn't have a time to go back to the office. So on 2021, my lease was up around May. And I just asked them, I asked my manager, I was like, dude, like, can I work while I travel? And he's like, sure. I was like, I don't think it will be that long. I was expecting to be 2, 3 months. Ended up being 5 months that I did the entire uh, continental U.S. Except Alaska. But um, yeah, like I just wanted to explore. So I was like, I don't want to renew my contract. I put everything on a storage in
Oh, you
Austin.
did? Okay.
Yeah, and then I just packed the essentials to in my car, and that's how I did it. I was just visiting state parks, national parks. I'm sorry, state parks. Landmarks of that city or the state,
Yeah.
and obviously, of course, like trying tacos if possible
Yes.
on every state. I did also had the opportunity to go to Canada on that trip
Oh, no way.
at the beginning of the trip.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in Seattle
Okay.
or Washington State, I couldn't go to Vancouver because there was still a um, well, because of COVID, the restrictions that were not allowing it. But by the time I arrived to New York State,
Wow.
that was by Niagara Falls, I jumped to Canada, went to Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec, and then I came back through Maine.
Wow, that's
Uh, so it was a great experience. That,
I
like I said,
bet
that
it
trip,
is. Yeah.
yeah, that trip
Good.
was an experience, right? And I did took some days off, obviously, from work here and there to explore
Yeah.
some of the national parks, especially because of internet access. But yeah, it was more of me like visiting the U.S. and say, well, I just need Alaska and Hawaii. And like I said, I visit all 50 states.
You didn't go to Hawaii though?
No, not yet. No,
Not
no,
yet.
no. Yeah.
Man, so after this journey from the 48 states, like how did you come back? Like were you like refreshed? Were you just like all like high on life? Like, oh my God, like I would
Yeah,
think
it
if
was,
I visit
it
all
was,
that, I'd just be so inspired.
it, it is. It was tough too. Like my last state, I think that I can't remember was like Arkansas because I was going to go to Arkansas and then Oklahoma,
Okay.
and but that was going to be a 1 day trip.
Mm.
My plans at the beginning. So maybe the plan was to wake up in Arkansas, go to Oklahoma to visit one of my aunts, and then just drive to Texas to Dallas. However, ended up spending the night at Oklahoma that day. But when I woke up in Arkansas and I was at this uh, mountain, like looking at the sunset, I was like, oh man, this is the last sunset that I'm going to see, while traveling. And it was really sad in a way. I wanted to go back, come back home and,
Right.
sleep in my bed. But at the same time, I was like, man, this is over. I was like, it's been a journey. So yeah, definitely when I came back, I had the itch of continue driving. So during the next couple of years, because I stay here in El Paso with my parents, uh, I still had my stuff in Austin, all
Oh,
my personal stuff, all of my instruments,
right.
the storage. So I took that as a excuse to continue driving. So I will go to Austin like
Good excuse.
once every 2 months
Yeah.
uh, to visit friends or to say, oh, I need a guitar. Let me go to Austin and
Yeah.
get it, and then come back. And so the next couple years, I was still kind of traveling a lot. Uh, and then the last year was kind of 2024 has been kind of a break on that. But yeah, it's definitely a great experience because you see a lot of a lot of different cultures within the U.S. Right,
Right.
in every state, in the way they drive, the way they serve food, the
Talk.
different laws and everything, and
Yeah.
different people. Uh, the good thing is I never had a bad experience. Never met any rude people. Uh, I'm a really quiet person, so I'm an introvert, and it's not like I was talking to a lot of people. Like, and again, it was during like that COVID period that
During the
there was
COVID.
still a lot of people not going out.
Mm.
However, I was able to to explore and yes, meet some folks here and there. I had friends and family around the U.S., so I was able to
Oh, nice.
visit people. I visit friends and family in Denver, in California, in Oregon, in Chicago, and
Nice.
Nebraska. Where else? In Virginia, and where I stay with the friend in Tennessee. No, in is it Tennessee? No, Mississippi. Mississippi. One of my aunts in, like I said, in Oklahoma. One of my cousins in Alabama, and then friends obviously in Texas, and Dallas, and in Austin, and in San Antonio. So
Wow.
it was a great trip.
What a journey. And it took you again, like what, 5 months, you said?
Yeah, it was exactly 5 months because I left here on July 21st and I came back on November 21st.
That's awesome, dude. What an inspiration just to see all that. And I love traveling. I love road trips and all that. But dang, I've never like been all those cities there, like throughout the US. But that's awesome that you did that. That's awesome. So as a photographer, because we're gonna go into that now, I mean, did you like take some great scenery photos as you went to the national park, or like how did you get into the start of photography?
So for photography, I always liked it, but I never, because I was so focused on music,
Mm.
uh, I never kind of pursue it. When I was here in Juarez, after I moved out of my parents, I had a roommate here, and he's an actor. He's a director as well.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of plays here in Juarez, and he had a camera, and I asked him, I was like, I wanted to learn. He's like, well, just take it and take some photos. And I do still have like a stack like this of photos that I
Oh,
took,
dude.
I think at the beginning of the 2000s, right? Like 2001, 2002.
Mm.
But then that stopped. And then the funny thing is, it's always been a trip that triggered the photography. So when I was in San Antonio, one of my cousins was living in Spain, and I decided to go and visit. So I stayed with her for a month, and I bought a camera. I bought a
Okay.
DSLR,
Oh, nice.
Minolta, and I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. I had a digital camera as well, so I'd actually had both film and digital
Oh,
at
nice.
that time,
Very cool.
and I just taking photos. I didn't know how to use the camera that well, and how to do like composition and all the like the rules about I was using automatic pretty much on all of my photos, but that kind of like started again that itch for photography. However, when I came back again, I kind of like life happened, and then that one was put on the back burner while
Mm.
still working, and I was still doing music. But when I started doing my YouTube channel, that was 2016, 17, I believe. Uh, the reason why I started the YouTube channel is because a lot of people in Austin will ask me, "Hey, where are the good tacos here?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just go to one or two places."
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a YouTube. Well, there's a guitar store in California. There's Norm's Guitar store, and the manager at the time was doing videos like YouTube videos and Instagram videos. That was Guitar of the Day, and from Tuesday to Saturday, he was showcasing one of the vintage guitars,
Oh, wow.
and that was the name of the series, Guitar of the Day. And he will explain it, right? He says the Fender, blah blah blah. So I was like, what if I do something like that? And then when I started Taco of the Day, and I was planning it, and a friend, he studied film. He's like, I'll help you. And so we started recording a few videos. We didn't like it that much,
Mm.
and then finally he had a better camera, and then we started a little bit more serious with that. But when
Mm.
I started traveling, again, it was a trip that triggered that. One of my friends was getting married in South Korea.
Oh, wow.
That's when I was like, oh, I need to buy a camera, a good camera, so I can film
Right.
myself. So I decided to buy a nice like Sony camera that was a hybrid for
Yeah. Okay.
photography and videography.
Mm.
So I did a couple videos there, and then that's when the photography kicked in. That's
Very-
some of my first photos from the digital world with this camera, like in San Francisco before the trip, and then in Korea and in Japan.
Wow.
I did a lot of those. So when I did the trip, obviously, yes, of course, using the camera. Uh, I think I don't want to say I took great photos, but some came up really, really good. And then once I came back here, I started doing concert photography.
Mm.
So because being a musician, going to shows, I was like, yeah, well, I want to start photographing some of these shows, and I was lucky enough to gain access to some of those
Events,
shows.
venues,
And
and
then uh, there is one particular band that is Unknown Mortal Orchestra. So they allow photographers, but only if they're analog. You have to do
oh,
film.
okay,
So that's when I came back to film.
okay.
So I had to relearn, well, learn pretty much film again. And then I bought a camera and started practicing. So I shot a few shows with that. I'm
Nice.
not like that show. I could have done better, I think,
Mm.
but at least I tried it.
Yeah, at least
And
you tried it. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm continuing, learning how to be a better photographer with film, just because it's a lot. Um, you only get 36, 24, depending on the amount of uh, photos you get on that roll, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
uh,
I've
on
heard of it.
digital, you can take 1,000
Oh,
photos, and yeah, one will come out right. But with film, you have to be a little bit more careful and thoughtful on the picture. So I think that helps as well, for both not only the film but the digital photography, uh, to be more mindful when I'm taking photos and composing a little bit better. Uh, but the thing that I think it helps too, being a musician when I'm at the shows, is that I kind of know and study their moves before I go to the show. So I try to go to their page and see what kind of like poses they do. Try to look at videos, because usually they tend to repeat, like
that's
artists
true.
tend to they tend to repeat the way they move for each song.
Yeah.
They rehearse and they have it kind of the same way. So I try to study that before I go to a show to try to get the best, uh, if possible. It doesn't work every time, but at least I try.
Have you ever studied with Alan and said, "Oh, he does the same moves with his songs"?
No, he does. He
Yeah, he
does.
does, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I
He
like
does.
his brothers. They're cool. Is like when he's playing the guitar and he's looking up, his signature move. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's with Astral. Astral song is he at the end. He just goes and looks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're like, yep, you love to that guitar right there, dude.
yeah. I actually, before I rejoined the band,
Mhm.
I did a couple of shows. Like I took photos of them
Oh, you
as
did?
well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I, like I said, because I play with him, I also know
As
kind of how
well.
he moves and everything.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so going back to the band, so from that point, I know you guys are at the point of releasing a new album, right? I think it's next month.
So I know they're working on the final mixes and then the
Okay.
mastering for the couple new songs. So uh, I'm not sure. Once they're ready, Alan will set the date
No, yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
But the
And
experience of writing the songs for this new album, how was that? Because you were on there,
so
right?
yeah, so this is different. The first album, Alan did it by himself with
Oh, the
Alex,
first.
pretty much. Yeah. So the first album, he did all the writing, and then Alex came in and kind of helped produce it and add
Oh,
some of the guitar layers. The second album was pretty much the same. Alan composing all the songs,
mhm.
and then giving us kind of like, because I recorded the bass for a few songs on that album in
Okay.
Austin. And some of the parts were already written by Alex. So I just learned them and recorded them.
Oh, no.
And then I did write, I think I wrote two of the songs, two of the parts. But on this new EP, we are a little bit more involved on the process. So yes, all of the ideas started pretty much with him on the songs. However, it was us putting like, you know, uh, Paul putting his part on the drums, Orlando putting his parts on the bass, and then me,
Mhm.
filling in with the guitar. So it was completely different from the last two
The last two. Okay.
albums. We collaborate a lot more on this one. Uh,
Well, that's
adding
good.
each of us our parts. So I think it works even better, and
Yeah.
these songs sound, I think, tighter as well because we each wrote our parts and kind of like what we are playing.
Right.
So I think it feels different as well.
That's awesome. So pretty much everyone in the band had their own part to bring in for the album and
Yes, yeah,
songs. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah. As of right now, like Alan is the one bringing the ideas for
Mm.
the main part of the song, and then we'll just jump in and do that. I know we had a couple ideas coming from Orlando as well. We still working on those. I haven't, me personally, I haven't contributed with the song and say, "Hey, I have this idea yet." Um, I just go in and kind of my role right now, I feel, is more like listen to it and then
Very
let me
good.
compliment what you have, um, and then maybe eventually, I feel like my style right now is a little bit different than what as the city sleeps requires as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So that's why maybe those ideas I'm keeping for myself,
For
and
yourself.
then eventually, maybe if I have something for as the city sleeps, then
You'll
I'll
introduce
share it
it.
with them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, before we end on the podcast, I do want to get to know you just a bit on the style of music that you like. So, what style of music that you have been listening to lately, or the bands that you've seen in concert? Like, I know Alan and Paul are very big on Tool. They love Tool. You
Yeah.
might too, which is fine, but you know.
Yeah, I like them, but I'm not a
Okay.
big fan. My favorite band is Nine Inch Nails. That is,
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah. So that's on the English side, right? So
Yeah.
me being bilingual and growing up in a border town, you get influence from both sides.
Mhm.
So Soda Stereo is the my biggest influence
Oh,
from the Spanish side. Gustavo Cerati and as single or soloist, and then Soda Stereo, his group, were a big influence. So I grew up in the '90s, so it's '90s rock, obviously,
yeah.
right? Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Collective Soul,
Oh
Smashing
yeah.
Pumpkins,
Oh
Rage Against the
yeah.
Machine,
Yes.
uh, 311. Those are big influence for me.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like I go more towards kind of like the chill part of Nine Inch Nails
Oh,
and
okay.
Radiohead,
And Radiohead.
because
Okay.
yeah, because a lot of people think Nine Inch Nails is super heavy, and they are live, but they have a lot of like super soft songs, like chill songs,
They
and
do?
some of those are my favorites. My favorite Nine Inch Nails song is "A Warm Place," and that is an instrumental that is just like a really chill song, you know.
Oh,
And some of my favorite songs from them are really mellow, not yeah, I love the power songs, but uh and then now lately I've been listening to a lot of what we write with that the city sleeps, right? Bedroom pop, that is called, or dream pop. Main Trust, Sharon Van Eaton, daughter. um it's weird, but it's a lot of female singers as well.
oh yeah.
Uh, like Soccer Mommy and Snail Mail,
Oh,
White Spot, like really soft, kind of rock, pop rock. That's what I've been listening. And No More Orchestra as well. Uh, Newer bands is it's yeah, it's hard to. The thing is mainly the ones that I've been listening lately.
wow. Okay.
Those help me like with At the City Sleeps as well.
It helps you inspire you with the
Yeah,
band.
yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have any future of doing more for like photo shoots in the future? Are you trying to get back into that?
Yeah, so for photography, it all depends on the shows, right? Like I
Mm.
always request a media pass for shows
Okay.
that come in. One thing that I'm trying to do is maybe work with a publication, so
Oh,
it gives better access to bigger shows. Right? So anything that it's in El Paso, the Plaza Theater,
mhm.
or Don Haskins or the Coliseum, they usually require like some type of affiliation with a publication
Mm.
to get those photo passes. With lowbrow, usually that's where I usually shoot. I just go directly with the bands because I like smaller bands,
Yeah.
and that's when I get my passes. So I'm trying to work with see if I can get within my publication to get like bigger shows. I guess
Nice.
Live Nation, you know,
Oh
they
yeah.
own a lot of the venues, so a lot of the photo passes have to go through them.
Oh, they do.
And unless you are working for a publication, you don't get, accepted. So I'm trying to do that, and then I'm trying to finish some film roles. Uh, try to do. There's a Frontera film collective
Oh,
group here in El Paso. So
oh,
it's
nice.
all analog photography. We did an exposition last year in February
Very
where I
cool.
had a photo there. Uh, and I'm trying to go back to it. I think life happened. So that one went back to the back burner, but I'm trying to bring it back. So more film photography on that. And then that's it. Like the
That's
other
awesome.
project that I'm working is with music with a friend in Austin, but this is more electronic music.
Oh,
Like he
electronic.
does a lot of module synthesizers and stuff like that. So he writes that part, and then I just write guitar and bass parts, and then we collaborate
That's
and
cool.
then try to come up with something. We recorded in the past, but we tried to be a little bit more structure. Um,
Yes, man. Well, I'm glad you
and
guys are working on that because I like Depeche Mode and Erasure and all that. Those bands are all like synth electronic.
yes,
So I like bands like that. So that's pretty cool. You guys are doing that project similar to that style of music.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it comes out of that.
I'm really glad that you're still you're very creative. You're being still in the photography, you in the band. I mean, you're just always out doing something. And I'm dude, just it's incredible that you went 48 states in 5 months. Like like I don't know if I'll ever do that, but I mean that's just incredible. That's definitely a life experience that I just never forget. So before we end the podcast, do you want to share just where to find you for your work on your social media?
So my name is really unique, so you can find it pretty really easy. So Esdhin, Esdhin, pretty much everywhere, right? Uh, Instagram, I have Esdhin, and I have TikTok, but I haven't used it that much.
Okay.
I need to start getting on that. The account is there, but I need to work on that. I'm focused more on Instagram. I have my own web page as well that is
Oh,
sdn.com, and then I have all of my projects there. So I have my photography, videography, as well as my music projects there. So that's where I try to keep updated. But
nice.
yeah, those are the main
The
the
main.
main media that I use.
All right. Well, thank you, Esdhin, for coming on Rhythm and Roads podcast and sharing your incredible story of just the journey as a musician, photographer. I mean, even a video creator with the tacos traveling around the states and just, I mean, that's wow. I didn't know that part. That was all over those guys. Like, that's awesome, man. I mean, I've been to a few, but not as compared to you. Like, God. So that's awesome that you got to experience that in life. So. And that's why I love
Well,
having this podcast because of the journey that you shared of just, life, of just traveling around, experiencing life and meeting different people. I mean, that's awesome. Your story just definitely it has inspired me to want to travel. I'm like, God, I love road trips. I love just going
do
out,
it.
going to new cities and meeting new people. So that's awesome.
Yeah, traveling is fun. I like driving though,
You
so
like driving more than
yeah,
flying?
it's really relaxing.
It
I
is.
listen to a lot of podcasts
Oh, do
during
you?
my
Oh,
yes during my trips, and then it, it gives me time to arrange my ideas as well.
yes.
So
I agree.
with flying, it's everything really quick. So you have to
It
go
is.
through checkpoint and then get it to your seat, and then yeah, it's a 2 hour flight, but then again, getting an Uber, this and that. It's just
It's just
driving. Is you're in control.
that's
When you're
right.
driving, you're in control pretty
Yeah.
much. Obviously, it all dependent on the traffic, but
Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're there. You're listening to a podcast, or you're just like I said. For me, I arrange my thoughts and thinking what is coming.
Yeah, man. I'm the same way. When I do the road trips, I just gather my thoughts. I mostly listen to music, but I think the music I listen to kind of will, I guess, go with where I'm at. So like if I'm driving somewhere where there's really beautiful scenery, then I'll have certain songs I'll play that go with that, like some rock that's more for that, side. It just depends where I'm at, right? So,
Yeah,
but I just love it because it just gives me ideas for some short stories or something, you know what I mean? So that's cool, man. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you do that. That's really cool that you do that, dude. All right, my man. Well, thanks for coming on Rhythm and Roads again. It's such a pleasure to have you on, and hopefully we can do a photo shoot session. I'd be interested if you do other than shows, if you do like a single session.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've done a couple portrait sessions. I do need to practice on that as well.
That's fine, dude.
Like for me, you know how they said, uh, a lot of people, well, some of my friends said like you have a lot of stuff on your plate, but I like to experiment,
Yeah,
and I like to try different things. I don't like to focus on just one
just one.
thing. So I do concert photography, I do state photography, travel photography, portraits. Again, I've done a few, but I do want to continue practicing and getting more, uh,
Sounds good.
experience on that. So yeah, we can
We'll definitely
definitely
collaborate
talk
on that.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude. I'll be in touch with you on that and see what we can do. All
will
right,
do.
guys. Well, thanks for watching this episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, Dean, for coming on.
Thank you.